Okay, good day. In this video, we are going to do the EX1 In Class Project, which is down here. You will not see the in-class quiz or the in-class project unless you have submitted the EX1 review assignment. So I've submitted the EX1 review assignment. I did that in another video. And now we're going to do the EX1 in-class project. So if you click on the in-class project, you're going to see the directions are simply to go into SAM and do the class project. So let's go into SAM. So I'm in SAM and I've got my activity list, and here is the EX1 in class project. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to say start, and I'm going to download the instructions, and I'm going to download the Excel file. So, and you can leave this open, it won't hurt anything, or you can close it, whichever you want to do. I'm going to open the instructions, and you can see they look like this. I'm going to take it off screen so that we can focus on the Excel stuff, and I'll read to you the directions as we get through it. Then I'm going to open up the Excel file and make sure you enable editing. Yours may or may not come up with that. If it does, make sure you enable editing. So I'm going to enable editing. Now, this first page here that says that is the documentation sheet, do not touch, change, don't do anything to this page. Absolutely nothing. Leave it alone. That is just don't touch it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to save this file. And I'm going to save it in my Excel sheet. And you're simply going to go in here and see where it has your name and then an _1. You're going to change that to an _2. So that's done, and that is the part for getting started. So let's continue. In project steps, step 1, it says open the expenses detail worksheet, cut the contents of the range B1 to B3, and paste them into the range A1 to A3. So I'm going to go to expenses detail, make sure you choose the right worksheet, and it wants me basically to take these 3 cells and we're going to move them over here. So there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can select the 3 cells like I did here, and that's simply done. You select the first cell, do not unclick your mouse, and drag it down, and that will select all 3 cells. So once you've got the cells selected, you can actually go over here and hover over the green edge, and you can hover over any green edge. And you'll see how my cursor changes to the 4 arrows. So click on the edge and drag it, and it's going to move it over for you. So that's an easy cut and paste. Another option, you've got the cells selected. You can right click and say cut, and then put your cursor in cell A1, right click and say paste, and then it will paste it there. You've also got keyboard shortcuts to do the same thing, which is a copy is hold down the control key and press the C button. That's for copy. And then to paste is hold down the control key and press the V button, which is paste. You can do it any of those ways, and all of those ways will work. Okay, step 2, add outside borders to the range A5 through D5. So I'm going to select A5 and I'm going to click and drag to D5. And it wants me to add outside borders. So right here under the font and the font size, here is your borders. And I'm going to come down here and say outside borders. And you'll notice it put a border out on all the outside edges of my selected area. Step 3, change the width of column C to 16. So I'm going to select up here at the heading where it says C. I'm going to select that column, and you'll see how the entire column is highlighted. I'm going to right click and say column width, and I'm going to change that to 16. Okay. Step 4, select cell B6, and then edit the cell content to be 125.24. So cell B6, you can see it's obviously a typo, and so they're wanting us to change that expense amount to 125.24. You're just going to type it, 125.24, and hit enter. So that was step 4. Step 5. Enter the values shown in table 1 below into the corresponding cells in the range B20 to B25. So here's B20 is down here, down to B25. And it says cell B20 is 53.02, so on and so forth. You can, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I like to try. If you select, let me show you. So I'm going to bring the instructions back over here. If you select those cells and do a Control C, which is a copy, and then come over here and do a Control V, which is a paste, okay, it pasted it, but you can look, the formatting is all funky. If you come down here and hit this arrow, it says the paste options, and you want to match the formatting of the destination, which is what we're copying in. So that just saves you the hassle of having to type those all in and maybe making typos. You can just type them in, and that's perfectly fine. One thing I do want to reiterate, and I mentioned this in the review assignment, and I should have said it at the beginning of the video and I didn't, but the thing that you need to be very, very careful with in doing these projects in SAM is that because it's graded by the computer and it's not graded by me, you have to be explicit and you have to watch the details. If it tells you to type something in with a space, then you better put a space. If it tells you to type it in without a space, then you better not do a space. If it tells you to do a particular font, you better do that font, because it's going to be able to tell whether or not you have. And if you didn't do it, then it's going to count it wrong. So you need to be very, very careful with the instructions and follow everything to a T. Because since it's, like I said, it's graded by the computer and there's not a lot I can do about it. Now, there have been times that you've done something right and SAM still grades it wrong. If you come across that and you need those extra couple of points, let me know. I can look at the file, verify that you did it correctly, and then I can change the grade. But I'm not going to do that on everybody and on every single assignment. So please follow the directions, but if you have problems, let me know. Okay, so we're going to continue on. So we're on step 6. We're going to select cell A26 and then enter the word total. So A26 is here, and we're going to enter total. And then we're going to add cell borders to the range A26 to B26. So I'm going to select A26 and B26, and we want to use the all borders format. So we're going to say all borders, and you'll see it puts a border around everything. Then in cell B26, we're going to use the sum function. I'm going to say equal. Remember, all functions, all mathematical things, everything, anything that you're referencing starts with an equal sign. All functions, all procedures start with an equal sign. So equal, and we're going to say sum, and then we're going to sum everything up in this range. So it's B6 through B25. And you can see you can highlight it, and it's going to fill the numbers in for you. And it's going to sum it for you. Another thing that you can do is what's called the auto sum feature. So it does the exact same thing. Let me go ahead and delete this. So we're here, we're going to do an auto sum. Up here in the top right hand corner is this auto sum. So if you hit the down arrow, you can see you've got sum, average, count, max, min, so on and so forth. We want to do sum. So if you click sum, it's automatically going to select all of those cells to do the sum, which is exactly what we had typed in. but it does it for you. Now, if you need to adjust it, you can, but if you hit enter, you'll see it just comes up with the same thing. So it's entirely up to you if you want to do the auto sum or if you want to type in the sum. Okay, step 8. In cell D6, type TCM. So in D6, we're going to type in TCM, and then we're going to hit enter. And in D6, we're going to type in KTT, and you'll see, let me do this again because I did it too fast. TCM, and then KT. Now you'll see it's filled in all of these. This is what's called the flash fill. And what it's saying is that, hey, I'm seeing a pattern in what you're doing. If this is true, then just hit the enter key and I'm going to fill it in all in for you. Excel does it for you. It tries to make it nice and easy. And sure enough, that's what we want. So I'm going to say enter, and it's going to fill in all those cells for me without me having to type. So it says now, we're still on expense detail. It says zoom out to 90% on the expenses detail worksheet. So down here in your bottom right hand corner is your zoom function. So I want to decrease it to 90%. Okay, so for now we're done with the expenses detail worksheet, and we're going to move on to the expenses by salesperson worksheet. So let's click the expenses by salesperson, and it says on the expenses by salesperson worksheet, change the orientation to landscape. So we're going to go to page layout, we're going to say orientation and say landscape. Now this only changes the orientation for this worksheet, not for the other worksheet. Then it says in cell A2, edit the cell content to read sales team expenses by salesperson. So right now it says sales team expenses, and we're going to change that to say by salesperson. Okay, step 12. In the expenses by salesperson worksheet, change the height of row 3 to 15. So I'm going to come here to row 3. I'm going to right click, say row height, and say 15. And it's going to make it just a little bit taller. Now, step 13. In cell A5, edit the content to read salesperson. So here's A5. Instead of sales, we want it to say salesperson. Step 14, change the width of column D to 19. So here's column D. Right click on it and say column width and say 19. Okay, step 15, enter the values shown in table 2 below to the corresponding cells in range A6 through A10. So again, I'm just going to cut and paste. So I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to right click and then go ahead and choose my paste option instead of just doing a Control V so that it matches the destination formatting. So I've copied everything in there and it matches. In cell D6, enter a formula to determine the non-travel expenses. So D6, so we're going to do a formula for non-travel expenses. The non-travel expenses equals the total expenses, which is cell B6, minus the travel expenses, which is cell C6. So all functions and procedures start with an equal sign. So we're going to say equal, and we're going to do total expenses, which is cell B6, minus travel expenses, which is cell C6. Just click on the cells and it fills in the cell number for you. And you'll notice that it color codes it so you can tell which cell is which. If you hit enter, you'll see that it does the calculation for you. Then it says copy the formula you created in D6 to the range D7 through D10. So we did the move function earlier where we selected the edges and we moved it wherever we wanted it. Now we want to copy it. So we're going to select this big square that's here in the corner. and you'll see my cursor changes again. So if you click on it and drag down, what it does is it copies that formula to each cell. And as it copies, if you look up here, it changes the cell references. So that is called relative cell referencing. Okay, so in cell A12, step number 18, in cell A12, delete the text as of April 30th, 2016. So in this cell right here, we want to delete it. Then it says apply the wrap text formatting to cell A13. So A13, and I want to wrap. And wrap is under home, and there's wrap text right there. Okay, then zoom into 110% on the expenses by salesperson worksheet. So back down here on the zoom, now we're going to go up and go to 110%. And then it says move the expenses detail worksheet to the left of the expenses by salesperson worksheet. So right now, expenses details on the right. We want to move it to the left. Simply click the tab and drag it until that arrow, that dark arrow, is in between or where you want that worksheet to appear. So I do that, and it switches the two locations. Okay, and then finally, they want you to insert a new worksheet. So we're going to hit this plus key. So new sheet, and we're going to name it. We're going to rename it to expenses by category. So right click on the sheet name and say rename. And we're going to say expenses by category. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And if we come down, it says your workbook should look like the final figures on the following pages. Save your changes, close the worksheet, and exit Excel. And then follow the directions in on the SAM website to submit your completed project. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to look at what it looks like. And I'm going to make sure that what I see is what I have here. So this is all correct. This information is all correct. So this page looks just fine. And if you look at the bottom, there's documentation, expenses detail, expenses by salesperson, expenses by category, which is exactly what I have. Then if I scroll down, here is my expenses by salesperson worksheet. So I'm going to go to expenses by salesperson, bring this back up, and I'm going to double check that this looks the same. So spring software sales team, that all looks right. These numbers are coming up correctly. This is wrapped, so everything looks good there. And that's it. So now you can close your directions. I'm going to save this Excel file, and I'm going to go ahead and close it. So when I close it, I'm back here on SAM. Now, if you closed this window, just go ahead and click back on the In Class Project, and it will open it up and say Start. You do not have to re-download the files. Don't do anything with that. You come up here, we want to upload the file, and we're going to say Choose Files. And then here is the file that we're looking for. Make sure it's the one that has the _2. The other thing I want you to see is notice right here under File Name, it has listed the file name that it is expecting. If you don't give it that file name, it's gonna gripe at you. So select the file name, say Open, and then say Submit. Once you do that, you'll see you get all these check marks across here. That means it's submitted, everything looks good, and you can exit out of it. Once you've done all of that, you can go over to the reports. And in the reports, you'll see here's your EX1 In Class Project, and you can look at the report. So I'm going to fix that. First of all, that should have already been done. But when you go to the report, I can show you the report for the introductory project. I want to show you that in a minute. I'm going to pause it and fix it, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I fixed it. So let's look at the report. I'm going to download the report and I'm going to open it up. And you'll see I made 100 out of 100. So that would be my grade. If you got anything wrong, these green check marks would be X's, and it would tell you exactly which step that you got wrong. You can close the report, and that's all you need to do for the in-class project. Now you will do the at-home project, and you'll do that on your own, but you'll submit it in SAM just like you did this. Have a good day.